Peace, what up everybody? It is the guy, Anti-Simp, back with a new video. And I'm doing this video because I was asked by basically a follower on why did I decide to create the Stop Simping Movement? What inspired me? And I had to think about it because it was a good question. And I think I gave a short answer that basically I don't think it was enough representation out here. As a young man, just trying to figure out life and, trying to get to know himself, figure out who I am as a man, there wasn't enough representation out here for it. I feel like my parents were like the normal types of people, and I don't think my dad was as, I don't think he was as laced as he could have been. So I kind of did some searching myself. I remember the first time I actually heard somebody say that vagina wasn't free. It was a woman. And I don't really work with females like that when it comes to the workforce. Generally I work with more men, but this time I was working with somebody who was a supervisor. She was a woman, and I was a security guard. And we've had many conversations with some of the females on the shifts or whatever the case is. And when it comes to dealing with females, I've always been about my paper more than being friendly with them. And they got this new cashier. They were trying to get us to go out with each other, and eventually we would exchange numbers. But I don't think it was going to last very long. I don't even think we want to go out on a date. But what ended up happening was I overheard them both say that vagina wasn't free. And I'm a young guy, fresh out of high school. I've actually been out of high school for a minute, but like I said, I'm at this period where I'm still trying to figure out who I am as a man, and it wasn't enough representation of the game where I'm from. I don't believe it, so I still don't think it's enough representation out here. And I didn't like it. I didn't like hearing that, mostly because like I was never laced in the game, I was never taught some of the things I know now. But I always had a feeling that, what did other guys think, and some of the guys I work with thought the same thing, but they weren't like me, they were, I'm from the hood, but I'm not a hood guy, So I wanted the opinion of people who are, or not that I wouldn't say the opinion, but yeah, pretty much their opinion. I wanted the opinions of people outside of where I was from. It's different when it's people from your neighborhood or people within your community say certain things, but I wanted to know if other guys felt the same way elsewhere. And maybe we could chop it up and have dialogue. These are guys that I'm among guys who got children, and I'm among guys who, women tend to gravitate more towards. These are hood cats, I'm not gonna say like, thugs, whatever cases. I don't like using that terminology because it has undertones to it. But these are hood guys. They weren't bad cats or whatever cases. They did what they needed to do to support their families. But I needed more cats who were like me I needed to communicate with them. I needed to network with them. So I began using the internet a lot more. And since I was out of high school, I've always had this feeling that, I know since I did a video previously that said that simping was unavoidable, and most guys, have done it. If you weren't properly laced by your father or whatever the case is, and most dads are pretty square. And I think by the end of not just this video, but the end of when I'm done with life, that there will be more laced cats out here. I basically wanted to network with more people. But I've always had this internal feeling that, something was wrong, an imbalance. Yes, simping is unavoidable. So most cats who've probably done something that they're not proud of have probably done it in high school or done it, probably before their 30s. And so if they've done it, it's a phase. I believe there's a simp phase that guys go through, because most guys are square, you know, and because of the simpification of America, I believe most guys have been indoctrinated with certain ideologies that don't help them with women, that we thought would work when dealing with women. You know, pay for the date, you know, take her out, open the door, all these things that women don't really appreciate nowadays, because they've killed chivalry. And they just flat out just said, yeah, vagina is not free. I didn't like that. Or rather, when I've been properly laced by the game, I have a different opinion about it. That I'm going to be the guy that isn't paying for it. I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not going to pander for it. I'm not going to be submissive for it. I'm not going to trick for it. I'm not going to do anything that society says I have to do to win over women to get it, other than being myself, other than me kicking it to a broad how I like to do things, how I do things, and she's going to get with the program or get lost. So since I'm this young guy that, you know, doesn't have much game, but I know that I don't like how I don't like these rules. They're not fair to me. I need to do some research. So I had already had a laptop or whatever, and I've been using the internet. You know, I had a Facebook page. I have a Black Planet account. I have these many different. I have a YouTube channel or a YouTube account or whatever. I'm gonna do some research. Turns out it really wasn't a lot of research out there. You know, it really wasn't a lot of what I was looking for out there. And I read a lot of stuff. I used to be on blogs, you know, heavy reading content, because I wanted to know how I can get to be where I was, because I didn't know what I knew now, because I didn't know it. If that makes sense. You don't know what you don't know. So I would do heavy research, and realistically, I was really close to probably joining the ideals of the red pill community, but I said, nah, this doesn't seem right. This ideology, because I wasn't in a dark place where I just, you know, wanted to avoid or not deal with it. I wasn't a victim. You know, since simping is unavoidable, I've done things that men have done, and like at the time it probably frustrated me when it comes to dealing with women, but now I just can sit back and laugh at it, because I don't want broads to be like, you know, oh, you did this and that and the thing, and now it's like it shapes my reality. Like they just like downplaying, you know, things I've been through. I don't like when stuff like that happens. That's like, I don't like to reveal my age, because the people like to downplay certain things about you or what you say. So I don't talk about my age. I don't talk about, you know, certain things that people can use as an excuse to downplay the stuff that you're basically spitting. So I try to use the internet a little bit more, because I think it was at the time I was kind of sick. I wasn't working at the time, so I decided to use the internet a little bit more. And while I was recovering, I would get to, you know, I would learn as much as I could possibly learn about what I needed to know. I didn't know what simping was at the time, but all I know was there was a huge imbalance going on out here, and that, you know, if I wasn't careful, then I could be like some of these other guys out here. I could be running around with a kid and be on child support. I could mess up, and I wanted to be as I'm going to say educated, but as thorough as I could possibly be. So I was close to joining the red pill community. I would look up certain things. I went from, you know, learning that other people actually did know the things that I knew, because I ended up in the pickup artist community. But then when I found out something, that the red pill community didn't really exist around this time. This is before 2010. Red pill community did not exist at this time. So but I do remember like certain communities talked about shaming tactics and different things, because I'm on the internet, and, you know, women are saying certain things. And I'm like, okay, I've heard these things before. I've seen these things before. I've been in groups before and they said these certain things. But this is not it, you know. I'm in the pickup artist community. For some reason, I think the red pill community, or what grew to become the red pill community, didn't like the pickup artist community, because the red pill community was a defeated community, and the pickup artist community was just like they were basing their game off of being able to deal with combative behavior from females. So it led me to Tariq Nasheed. I began digging deeper, and they talked about The Game by this guy named Neil, and I read the book, and it was like, it is what it is. I looked at it, I skimmed through it, or whatever the case is, because I was still seeking answers. I basically wanted to get what I wanted out of females without having to degrade myself, without having to basically simp. Because it didn't feel right to be that way. It didn't feel right to pander, to do all the crap that society tells you that you have to do in order to get what you want out of women, or get what you want when dealing with women. I didn't want to do that shit. So it led me to Tariq Nasheed's The Art of Macking. And at first I didn't really pay it any mind. I know that his name was mentioned on some of these forums or these blogs or whatever the case is, and you know, I think I disregarded it. I disregarded all of it. I still had questions, but I didn't get the answers I looked for. But eventually, while I was sick, I began to, you know, I had a Facebook page already, so I began to, you know, use it more to try to connect with people. And I joined a Facebook group, a Zane's Facebook group. It was one of my first ever Facebook groups. And I'll never forget it, because it was how I met a cat who introduced me to Tariq Nasheed's book, The Art of Macking. So I read the book. Oh man, this is so thorough. And then I had read about the simping, basically. And he described it. My bad. Let me get some water. He described simping as, and realistically, the definition of simping has been the same as what has always been for years. So it's not his definition. He added some other stuff to it, but a simp is a man who puts himself in a subservient position under women in hopes of winning them over. That's the definition that people go by. That has been in the game for a long time. So it's not like a made up definition. Whenever you see stuff on extra stuff on the Urban Dictionary, or other people put their spin on it, I really paid no mind. I just stick to the core definition of it. I never stray from that definition of it. I stick to it because that's the definition that people that have been going by for a long time. And after I read the book, I read the book as fast. Like the friend, I didn't mean to stutter, but the friend had told me about the book. I went and checked out the book. I got the book as soon as I could, and within like I didn't even sleep. I read the whole book, and as a black man, like a lot of stuff that I saw on these forums from the pickup artist community and what was soon to be the red pill community weren't answers I was looking for. Here is a black man who wrote a book on how to deal with black women, which is what I primarily dealt with, which is what I primarily saw, and he broke it down to like so many levels that was just understandable. Realistically, you know, his Art of Macking book got me, it got me to where I am today. But I probably would say that his book on Player Be Played is probably the most thorough book he's ever written, and it's a book I would recommend all women would read. Like, if you want to know how to be a better bride, you want to know how to be a better woman in today's society, that's a book you should read, because it just gives it to you straight. And that's interesting, because it's a book for women, but it's like to me it's one of the most thoroughest books he's ever written. But back to it. So he wrote this book, Art of Macking. In the Art of Macking book, it's the first time I ever heard the term simp before in my life, and I understood the definition because it's things that I saw today. Now here I am on the internet connecting with black men who understand where I'm coming from, because we understand the same things. We've seen the same things. Now we don't see as much of it on the internet. We don't see as much of it where we need to see it at. We should be networking with each other, and that's what caused me to create this Stop Simping Movement. Because I looked it up. I was looking on Facebook. There was no other men on Facebook. There was no other pages. There were no other groups on this. There might have been one or two or three or whatever cases, but they weren't consistently on this. So, what can I do? What can I do to bring awareness to simping? So, since I didn't see any websites or anything like that or whatever cases, making sure I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, I created the Stop Simping Movement, the Facebook page. And at first, it really wasn't going anywhere. You know, I would since I was already in Zane's Facebook group, I would try to connect with more men in those groups and get them to like the page. And eventually I got kicked out the group. I had made a post that they didn't like, and I got kicked out the group. And I'll never forget the post because it just made them so mad. Like, we had been getting on their nerves for a while. It was me and a couple other cats in the group. We were getting on their nerves so bad. They must have been like reporting us to the admin or whatever. They were because Zane was in the group. Her big ass was in the group, and she eventually she was like one of the only admins, and we got kicked out. We had like a separate group for men, but we were saying so much stuff in those groups that they infiltrated it with a simp. Like a simp infiltrated the group. It's starting to make me mad when I think about it, because we had a group that was specifically for us, and the women had a group that was specifically for them, so that they could, you know, basically, you know, talk about things that they felt like they couldn't talk about in the group. It was great. We will respect your privacy, but they sent a mole in our group, a simp in our group. And it was like, we needed to have something that was ours, something that we couldn't get kicked out of. And it didn't really matter if women came to it, you know, they were going pretty much dying uphill. I still can't help but think that it was a dude, and we were having our own group, and we were talking about things that frustrated us within the group, and we couldn't have those things. They infiltrated our groups with a dude. A simp. He was telling them things that we said, and they didn't even wait till they even like use the information they got from us. They were using stuff that we said in those group against us immediately. It was no tact, no strategy. It's just that they knew that we had what we had going on in there. So something was wrong with this group. Something was wrong with this group when there were dudes. There were dudes in the group who were like, there was so many females in the group that I never talked about why I entered the group. So first, let me tell you why I entered the group. I entered the group because I already told you that I was, you know, recovering. I was sick. I was recovering, whatever the case is. So while I was, you know, getting better, I wasn't around other people to socialize. So I began trying to network with other people, and while I was in these groups or whatever, I used to like her content. When I say that, you know, simping is unavoidable, whatever the case is, I used to like do certain things that, you know, I thought would make me more appealing to women or whatever the case is. So one of the things I did was I bought Zane's books or whatever the case is. I liked erotic literature, so I read her books or whatever. And upon reading her books, I joined the group. You know, I didn't know she had a Facebook page. I just looked up. I would go around looking up like Facebook pages to join, or, you know, whatever, collab with, and she talked about her group on her page. So I joined the group, and while we were in the group or whatever the case is, I thought a lot of women were, you know, a lot of women that I was cool with were decent or whatever the case is. It began to fall apart though, because I began realizing that, you know, the group was every day, probably in the morning, Zane would make a post, or somebody in the group that was probably highly popular. Somebody in the group would make a post, and, you know, it was kind of always targeting men. Like, she had when people feel like that the Stop Simping Movement basically is a woman bashing page, she was bashing men almost every day. It was noticeable that she was bashing men every day. And whenever we tried to make our own posts, you know, telling women the things that they did that we didn't like, it was just so much backlash. There was a guy that was in that group that was just getting on women's nerves, and he was so close to getting kicked out that eventually, you know, he got kicked out, and then like I eventually got kicked out. I had made this post about women didn't have the golden vagina. Matter of fact, let me see if I got it on my phone. gonna see if I got the joint on my phone. Let me see. I think if I can't, then I'll just try to recall it. Nope. Golden. No, so I don't have it on my phone. I was trying to like read it to you guys word for word. So basically, if I can remember correctly, as I said, no woman had to go to vagina, to basically make men do whatever they wanted to do, whatever the case is, So I was trying to just set things straight, but because like a lot of women in that group acted like they had to go to vagina. They had this like they could just make. They acted as though they were better than us. That we should be grateful to be with them, and like a lot of the women in those groups were overweight. Like this was like a utopia for overweight women, or women who had issues, who had like self-esteem issues, because like social media had plateaued into something that like a lot of us didn't even really see going forward. Like it gave women a way to get a ton of attention, and it gave men a way to give attention to a ton of women. Like thirst began to develop in groups like this. And like I said, I had made a post about it. I was like, yo, y'all don't have to go to vagina. You're not like this out of hard to reach thing. Like be more realistic about about you. I'm gonna see if I can find, like, if I can find it, I'm gonna probably link it, because I probably wrote it on my blog. But I think I told them they didn't have to go to vagina. It was something that pissed them off, and I ended up getting kicked out of the group. At that point, I didn't even really make that many posts. The golden vagina. I probably wrote a blog on this, man. Somebody actually wrote a post on it. Looking for it. Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have it. I had it at one point. But I don't have it up there. It might be on my blog, but it's not. I know it's not in my journal. Or maybe I didn't look hard enough. Let me see. Golden. Oh, here it is. I found it. My bad. I found it. So I think I said most men think sex is a reward, something to be proud to get, and most women think they're doing you a favor, breaking you off. That's why the Kuda Puff has nicknames like the Cookie or the Punani or whatever, however they spelled it. The Kitty, the Box, Sweet Sugar Walls, because there actually was a girl in a group named Sugar Walls. Because he had like various names of Zane books or whatever, like Sora or whatever cases. It was like a ton of overweight women in those groups. Sugar Walls, My Treasure, the Goodies. Those are the names that women give their vaginas. I'm like, you don't have the golden vagina. I'm like, they're just moist holes. I'm like, the only thing that really makes the Kuda Puff good is the personality behind it, and you can smash and suck like a porn star. You can have the wettest, tightest Kuda Puff on earth, and a man can still dump you for a woman who's less of a headache. And that's real. That's real truth. And it's like, no woman has the golden ticket between their legs. And I just like other men on the planet who get called woman haters, because we know Kuda Puff is the only weapon most of these women wield. I say yield, but I meant to say wield. That's the only power they have, is the Kuda Puff power. And if a man is disciplined, the Kuda Puff power does not work. So what does that mean? It means that women are going to have to bring more to the table. And I said that's, actually I ain't going to say the rest of that stuff, because that was immature things. But that's basically the gist of it. I told them they didn't have to go to vagina, and I got kicked out the group for that post or whatever. And it's kind of funny, because it led to this. I now have a bigger platform on it. Nobody's going to kick me out of this group. I gave the platforms to other men, for other men to speak on. And that's great. I'm not trying to, like, pat myself on the back. In a way I am, but it's like, I'm glad that there are other platforms out there that guys can basically look at or look for, because when I started, there was no this. When I was in those Facebook groups, there was no this. There was no, you know, big YouTube channel talking about the things I'm talking about. There was no big Facebook page. And now there are like, there still ain't no big Facebook pages talking about this. There are some pages do outnumber us. And even on YouTube, you know, there are big YouTube channels that talk about this stuff like this. But I'm glad that they're there, because they weren't there when I started. Even Tariq Nasheed's YouTube presence wasn't that big compared to like the Stop Simping Movement. Eventually, you know, he did, like, because during the time that I learned about Tariq Nasheed, he was already transitioning to the Hidden Colors phase of his life. It was like the first Hidden Colors or whatever. He was like getting donations for the Mac Lessons Radio. I used to listen to Mac Lessons Radio kind of almost religiously. I downloaded like tons of episodes, and when I would go out into the world, and if I had to deal with females, you know, it was good to have something to, you know, remind me of, you know, who I was and what I wanted. So when I dealt with females going forward, I always tried to get what I wanted out of them. If I couldn't, then I didn't really need to broad anyway, because she was no use to me. Now, many of you guys might not believe in those type of concepts or whatever case is. I don't know where else you can go if you just decide not to simp or whatever case is. I don't know how else life is going to go for you, but I just knew that in deep down inside, like like women talk about having intuitions, whatever case is, and they're usually always wrong. But I was somebody who just rejected the concepts of things that did not appeal to me, that didn't make me feel comfortable. It doesn't make me feel comfortable to go out on dates with a woman that I don't think likes me, and I'm paying for the whole date. It doesn't make me feel comfortable to risk my assets, and, you know, she's just getting free shit out of me. It doesn't make me feel comfortable to do that. So, what could I do except to connect with or network with other men who thought the same way, and we brainstormed and talked and did other things that, you know, that helped us continue to evolve. So that's pretty much why I started the Stop Simping Movement. I didn't want to be a simp. Even if I didn't know what it was at the time, upon doing my research, I did not want to be that guy. I didn't want to be a guy who was doing things that did not make me feel comfortable and doing all these things for women, and I wasn't getting anything out of it. I wanted to get what I wanted out of women without having to be a simp. Simping is not good, because men should not be submissive to women. Women should be submissive to men. And I don't care how people on the internet feel about it. I'm going to be a guy who's going to say what he's thinking to women, even if they don't, you know, they don't like it. I remember the first time, like, after reading all the stuff that I read, and I began like feeling better, I got better or whatever cases, and I began reconnecting with friends. I actually lost some friends because of how I was thinking. Here I am hanging out with a cat who's supposed to be my homeboy, and his friend is a virgin, but he has all these weird simpish aspirations for women who aren't even breaking him off anything. And then he's like sharing this house with this woman who has pretty much she had 4 kids, and she's like, I could never date a guy who thinks like you. I'm like, thank you. If a woman like you found me attractive or appealing, I would think something's wrong in the universe. Why? I mean, like, you're talking to me as if you actually have a chance with me. You have 4 kids. You may control who enters into your body, and based off of the fact that you have 4 kids, you let anybody in your body. So I'm grateful not to be one of those guys. I would have to question myself and my standards. I would have to question what's going on inside of my head if you are letting me inside of your body, and I go through with it. my former homeboy has these aspirations on how women should be, and I'm like, yo, man, what is this doing for you? Here I am getting whatever I want out of women without doing any of the crap that society tells me I have to do, and you aren't getting anything out of these women. You are, you're dealing with women who have these weird ideals on how things should be, but they don't want to. They're half-assing it. They're not giving you anything. They're kicking their feet on giving you even a third of what you want. But here I am asking for everything because I deserve it. And I've gotten it. I've gotten what I want out of women. And if a woman's argument is that, you're single, I'm a man. I'm not a woman. You don't know anything about men. You almost don't seem to know anything about being a woman either, because I'm a man again. And as a man, I don't have to be in a relationship. I don't there's no hunt for me to be in a relationship. There's no prowling for me to be in a relationship. We are men. We search for sex. That's what we search for. We deal with women or in search of women for sex. And then we can tolerate you for more than just the sex. Then when you choose to be in a relationship with you, we control who we're in a relationship with. We control the relationship and marriage aspect of things. If we decide we don't want to be in relationships with you all, which is what's going on, 80% of you are single, then I don't have to conform to these weird ideals that you have. These weird concepts, they don't apply to me. You're laughing that I'm single, but it's not the same. Like it's like shooting Superman in the chest with a gun. There's no kryptonite around. The bullets are just falling right off. It doesn't matter of what you think your concept. We aren't the same. We aren't equals. If a woman is single, it's a bad sign. If a man is single, it's not a bad sign. That's just how I'm gonna summarize it. I'm not gonna go into deeper or drawn out details about that. But I am a man, and the fact that you don't think that we are different, I think you have a huge lack of respect for our roles in life, and you need to figure out what yours is. You need to figure out what your role is before trying to come at mine. I know who I am. Anyway, this is all the time that I'm not going to say care, but this is all the time that I have for this video. If you like it and you found it informative, I think you should give it a thumbs up. More than 60% of you check out my videos, but you aren't subscribed to it, so I would like for you guys to hit that bell notification and be subscribed, so that whenever I drop a new video, you get a notification for it. Also, if you'd like to support my channel, if you liked what I said in this and you would like to see me make more content, definitely support the channel. Send some money through that Cash App. I left my Cash App in the description. If you'd like to support the channel in another way, I have a link to my website. Yes, I created the StopSimpingNow.com website, where if they deleted me off of Facebook or they deleted me off of Twitter or Instagram or wherever, you know where to find me. So, head to my website, cop my book if you haven't already. If you have the book, then grab a t-shirt. Support me. And that's it. All of the links that I'm talking about is in the description. So, I will catch you guys at the next video. Peace out.